Good evening, Gaurinian. I'm eating way too much sweets for my own good. To the point I'm becoming overweight quite fast. Alas. This cow currently roll. Okay. Well then. Time to go do that. Last one. Disorder. Disorder. Disorder.
Time for a surprise! Need a hand? Get ready to counter! Calibrating sample! Woo! Shoot! Hello! Yeah! Oh yeah! Break time! Yeah! Okay. My turn. Be good now. Here to help. Careful, don't get scared. This party's lit. Sure, leave it to right. Bernie's like that. Shoot. Yeah. Okay. Calibrating sample. Want to be taken apart? I'm a fire. Shoot. Here to help! Time to split! Endless refills! I'm here. Good now! Calibrating sample!
Let's see how much it gives me. Mm-hmm. Another two. Oh well. By the way, this one stable is from the what thing called? From here. Alright, what say you, Joe? I'm not talking to you yet. I ran away to Cute of Animation, which I'm not. Oh, 1 minute. What's the strategy station? Oh, this thing. Yeah, no, unfortunately this event is over. Oh well. No matter.
Are going to Turkey to get hair transplants. Why does Turkey have so many hair transplants? I talked to a doctor who does this at the highest levels.
I got to shout out Dr. Anderson over at Anderson Hair Institute in Georgia. I got to shout out my guy.
Dr. Ken Anderson, medical director of Anderson Center for Hair in Atlanta.
I learned about the tech that changed the industry and the policy that has changed the economics of medicine. This is our techno-geopolitical follicular future.
Here's our guy, PJ.
I wanted to make a main character to go on this hair transplant journey.
He's young, he's 25. Everything's ahead of him.
Check, check, check. Yes? Look at me, I'm using a microphone. It's like TikTok or something.
And I also tried to see if I could get my own Turkish hair transplant.
I want to recreate the conversation that I had because I had actually got in touch with one of these agencies, and yeah, I want to walk you through how it happened.
I really had two things to figure out here. What is a hair transplant, and why are so many people going to Turkey to get them?
So Ken Anderson has been doing this for a while, and I like talking to him because his career kind of overlaps with some of the changes that have gone on in the hair transplant industry.
I went to the worldwide meeting of the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery in 2003 and was just blown away by the complexity of the subject, and there's a lot more to it than I thought. Right around then was one of the biggest changes in the specialty, in that it went from the results that look like doll's hair, like pluggy hair, to what's called the follicular unit transplant, just one follicle or hair by hair at a time transplant, making the results absolutely natural and impossible to detect.
I'm actually taking a quick break to go get some gas. So the free Upside app lets you get cash back on stuff you were already gonna do. Like go get gas, or go get groceries, or go out to eat. Okay, let me show you. I'll screen grab it. So it's really easy. You just open up the app, you look for restaurants, you look for groceries. It is super easy to use.
So if I could just kind of use you as my narrator of this change, what is the difference there? Why does it look so different?
Some hairs are sensitive to the hormones that cause hair loss, and some hairs are not. And if we take a man, for example, typically that horseshoe of hairs around the back and sides of the scalp.
Right, like the George from Seinfeld zone.
Those hairs are in the permanent zone, are resistant to the hormones that cause hair loss. And it was proven a long time ago by Dr. Norman Orentreich in the 1950s that you can take hair from the permanent zone and move it to the area of impermanence, or the areas of need where the hair loss has occurred, and it will continue to grow as if it were still sitting in the permanent zone. Like the hairs don't know they've been moved.
PJ's putting on a little bit of weight, just a little. PJ may have a crippling addiction to candy. He's grown a little compensatory mustache. PJ's in denial, for sure. He can take these really dense patches of hair, like here and actually move them up. And so that's why you see this shape of red when you see Turkish Hairlines patients coming home.
From basically 2000 forward, all transplants basically were one follicle at a time. Then the focus became, in all of cosmetic surgery and all of surgery really, there's a big trend towards less and less invasiveness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It has a lot of advantages. And so with the linear strip excision, which a thin strip of scalp through the permanent zone, that scalp is removed. That strip then is processed under the microscope, separating out all the follicles. But that leaves a linear scar, a horizontal linear scar, in a very telltale position.
Yes, right.
And a lot of guys, don't want that.
Right.
A lot of people don't want that because it's a telltale sign that a hair transplant has occurred. It limits how short a haircut can be.
Yeah.
And so FUE is a different FUE, which is the more popular method now.
Yeah.
It's called follicular unit excision. And this is where essentially a small instrument, I use a 1 millimeter circular or 0.9 millimeter hollow drill bit, to put it in very basic terms, to core out one follicle at a time from the donor area, or without creating any linear scarring. There's no stitches. And so after the hair grows in and after everything's healed up, there is no linear scar there.
I want to point out that this actually lines up with some of the reports from the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgery. They said that FUE was about here. And now in 2025, look at how many people are getting FUE. It is the major thing.
Did this change the type of people who were doing the work to some degree?
Absolutely. In order to be licensed and able for a surgeon to do a tonsillectomy, they're going to need a number of things. They're going to need a medical degree, a medical license, residency training, a board certificate, and hospital privileges. And the residency training for ear, nose, and throat surgery is typically 5 to 6 years long. And the reason for that is because if you don't do it correctly, the child could get seriously hurt or worse.
Right.
With hair restoration surgery, it's the opposite. in order for a provider to offer hair restoration surgery, they need to go to medical school and then get a medical license, which typically is, a medical license takes typically 1 year after medical school in anything, internal medicine. When it was all FUT surgery, the strip surgery, that requires actual surgical judgments, training, and skill. And so, at the time, there weren't that many providers because it was actual surgeons doing the work. With the advent of the FUE devices, the follicular, to put it basically the little drills that core out one follicle at a time, that's not technically complex.
So listen to his description of the licensing involved and see how cutthroat it is, and then imagine how that could extend to competition with Turkey.
You don't have to have a lot of surgery training or judgment to perform that. And so the market was inundated with doctors with no surgical training starting to offer that procedure.
All of these technological trends perfectly intersected with Turkey and the internet.
So I found Now Hair Time on Instagram. It's a really big 5.1 million followers Turkish transplant agency. All these men are very large. I wish them the best in their journey. I really do. Distinctive post-op look. He looks very pleased with himself. Here's a beard transplant, which is something they also do. I go to nowhairtime.com and I give them my name, my email, my country, and my phone number. And the next thing I knew, I was being contacted on WhatsApp. And so he immediately asks me what I'm interested in, hair or beard transplant. I tell him hair, exclamation. And then he gives me an idea of what kind of pictures I need to send over, along with some basic questions. One of those questions that I want you to note here, do you use minoxidil or finasteride? Now, these, of course, are the hair growth drugs. And Dr. Anderson told me that he would consult with patients and often recommend that they give those a try before they get a transplant, or in lieu of a transplant, or in combination with one. So I answered all the questions and told him I had no minoxidil or finasteride, and then I sent over the pictures. I didn't want to mislead anybody about anything, so I just kind of pulled my hair back and, showed him how it was. I mean, I was feeling pretty good about myself after sending these pictures. Like, there's definitely a bit of a receding hairline here, but I don't know, I'm just feeling pretty good about myself, looking at the back of my head here. Honestly, next time I'm feeling down about things, I'm just gonna look at the back of my head. And so then he says, can you send a picture of the top above of your head so that we can see the whole scalp? And so then I took a picture of the top of my head, just like that. And also feeling pretty good about myself. I mean, it's as white as Santa's beard, but it is full like Santa's beard. I don't know why Santa's beard is the operative analogy here. And then he said, okay, thank you for all the information you've provided. I will now send your information to our specialist for analysis. I will get back to you when I get the analysis result. I said, thank you.
The mystery was, why did Turkey want to get their hands on my follicles so badly? So maybe you're saying to yourself, bro, we're 11 minutes in. Why have we not been talking about Turkey yet? We are going to talk about it, but I really think that you have to understand all that hair transplant stuff before you can understand why Turkey was able to take such a big slice of the market. I want to piece this together through a literature review and through the eyes of PJ.
It's from our destination of Istanbul, Turkey.
Let's look at this chart from the USHAS, which is the medical tourism agency that is in charge of bringing people into Turkey. You can see right here, there's been huge growth after COVID, and also huge growth since just 2015. The reason that PJ wants to come to Turkey is the cost. If you want to get a heart bypass in the United States, it's $123,000. In Turkey, it's $13,900. But down here with a hair transplant, you might be looking at like $20,000-$25,000 in the United States, but in Turkey, you can start off at $2,000.
Apparently I need 2,500 to 3,000 grafts. They're gonna use the FUE method, which is the hole punch method that is pretty much the main option these days. And he sent me the packages. The packages range from the basic package for $3,500, and then there's the gold package where I get all that. And then I also get 4 nights of accommodation at a 5-star hotel and a tour of Istanbul.
But why is that cost so much lower? And why is Turkey so desperate to get PJ on the plane? In the early 2000s, remember, around the same time that FUE is starting to become a thing, the AK party took over in Turkey. So in 2011, the AK party pledged to promote health tourism, including medical tourism, for the first time during its general election campaign in 2011. It framed health tourism as part of its economic development strategy. Now, that party has a very complicated history, but like any political party, they have to promote certain types of economic development. And over the next 10 years, they land on medical tourism as being an important driver of wealth. Okay, so this paper is Why Medical Tourists Choose Turkey as a Medical Tourism Destination. This is something that should have been obvious to me, but like, Turkey is part of a medical ecosystem. Turkey is right here in the middle, so it's accessible to the Middle East, but also to the US, all these different areas. And so the Turkish government supports this medical tourism industry in a bunch of different ways. They build like legit hospitals. Something crazy is that hair transplants, which is like the focus of this video, the thing that I was thinking about, are only 2% of all the different surgical procedures. But remember, we know now that hair transplants, technically speaking, are kind of getting easier. They're able to kind of hole punch and do that without needing a lot of surgical skills, because minimally invasive procedures in the United States have gone up a lot since 2005.
I mean, there are some very good doctors in Turkey. I know them personally. And I see them at the international meetings of the ISHRS. I see them at other international hair meetings. And you know, they are excellent. But there is a whole industry in Turkey. I mean, it's the cost of everything is lower in Turkey, right? The cost of labor, rent, insurance, all of it. And so I have seen evidence of, and I've talked to patients, the doctor draws the hairline on, and that's the last they see of the doctor. And then they're handed off to the technicians. The patient asked the technicians, like, well, what about the doctor? And the technicians just said, he's the architect, we're the builders.
So the hair transplants are able to kind of piggyback off a bunch of subsidies that are being given to the medical tourism industry more broadly. The Turkish government is also reimbursing significant amounts for Turkish airline flights for medical tourism, like 50%, and they are reimbursing for advertising to draw medical tourists in. So, for example, the hair transplant provider pays Now Hair Time to recruit me, or PJ, as a customer, right? But they are going to get reimbursed up to 60% of the cost for that. This sits on some bigger trends. I found this review of the new era of marketing in plastic surgery, and I caught up with one of the authors on the phone.
Out of every country in the world, Turkey actually has the most social media related to medical procedures.
In a world in which social media marketing is increasingly important, this is kind of a cheat code, a 60% coupon off. That lets them compete overseas with a lot of different people. And then when they leave, they don't really have to worry about accountability. If they designed the hairline wrong, which is something that Dr. Anderson talked about, it's not really their problem. And if there's a post-operative complication, that's not really their problem either. Will this restore my confidence and sense of self? And he replied, if you are affected by the hair loss you have, this can help you. So why did I make this video? The truth is, I find the collision of geopolitics and technology and these deep psychic wounds that drive PJ to get his hair transplant fascinating. However, I want to give you one stronger take, which is that optional medical care, consider keeping it local. I do think it's probably better for patients, for accountability, and also for consultations and results. People like PJ should consider if it's really a good idea to go all the way to Turkey to get this surgery. I think it is a case of being penny wise but pound foolish. This paper is really shocking. It is about some of the disasters that happened when people went abroad for different surgeries. And saving money was the biggest reason amongst this group of people being surveyed. So many of them had an interview only, which shows kind of the dangers of this system. Some of the pictures in this paper of failed surgeries are horrifying. Instagram doesn't care about what happens to PJ, but maybe we should.
And now we are making our approach to Istanbul.
Hey, that is it for this one. I am just about to record the Patreon reaction video, but I just wanted to touch base.
This video is not for Whales and Dolphins, it's for you, because you might be looking at upcoming characters or already existing characters in Zenless Zone Zero and thinking, hey, who should I pull? And honestly, this list is designed to give you some answers as to who might be worth looking at in terms of the agents that already exist. We're going to go through each of the agents that exist in Zenless Zone Zero, and we'll talk about their pull value, i.e. how valuable they are as an agent to have on your account. If I'm completely honest, off the rip, I'm going to tell you, though, that you should play this game the way that you want to play it. You can still clear with every character. The thing is, though, is that you need to make sure you build around that character appropriately. Waifu first, and then build around that waifu. Let's start with Husbando Leiter. Leiter is a fire stun agent who works really well with fire and ice DPS characters, which makes him somewhat niche. He does do really well in that niche. Problem is that Dial-In also exists. You would pretty much always rather have Dial-In over Leiter, except for some very niche fringe scenarios where he's also benefiting from the enemy being fire weak and therefore he's getting more days and stuff. He's still pretty good at what he's supposed to do. I think Leiter is okay. Characters that are going to go in this tier are still completely fine. Dial-In. So Dial-In is the best stun agent in Zenless Zone Zero without any question of a doubt. There are a couple of scenarios, as we mentioned earlier, where Leiter might be ever so slightly better. Dial-In just wipes the floor with every other stun agent. It's actually insane how good she is. She is tier 0. She is the best possible stun agent that you can pull on your account, and you should probably pull for her. If you get an opportunity to pull for Dial-In, you should maybe consider it. I do want to take this opportunity to also talk about reruns. Typically in Zenless Zone Zero, when they rerun a character, they normally do it right before they make something that is, tangential, but potentially better than that character. There has been a trend of them running a character on a rerun and then them immediately getting something else. Okay, so let's talk about Miyabi. Gather round, kids, gather round. Let's sit around the fire and tell stories about the times that Miyabi was so unbelievably strong that we couldn't possibly imagine the game without her. And now we're in a position where pretty much every enemy that's released since Season 2 started has been anti-Miyabi. 40% ice resistance, anti-anomaly debuffs, anomaly buildup, reductions, etc., etc. The reality is that honestly, I don't think I can recommend pulling for Miyabi. At a baseline, Miyabi is the strongest unit in the game if all enemies were freezable, but they're not. At a baseline, Miyabi is the strongest agent in the game if all enemies didn't have 40% ice resistance, but they do. It's time to move on. I'm just kidding. She's still a really good ice DPS. It's tough to recommend her when the content is so against her. However, we do occasionally have those bosses that make the assumption that you have Miyabi. Now, we are seeing them less and less frequently. In all good consciousness, I can't recommend heartily that people should pull for Miyabi. I'm gonna leave her here. Let's do Yixuan. Yixuan is the DPS with the most complete team in the game. She kind of has a lot of different parts that you can add in to her team. Most of the time, though, it's going to include Lucia. And then most of the time, though, it's going to include a stun agent. She also has a lot of very good low-cost team options. She has a lot of potential vertical investment into the team there. Like you could pull a Lucia, you could pull a Jufufu, you could pull a Dylan. I mean, you should pull a Dylan over a Jufufu, but like you have a lot of options that you can go for. I think she goes into T1. Should we also just get Ye Xiongguang out of the way? Ye Xiongguang, it's been a little while since we've had DPSs in tier 0. Just simply because tier 0 means that it's a good pull for everyone. Not necessarily everyone has to make a pull. There are no must pulls in Zenless Zone 0, of course. But honestly, I think that for the first time in a long time, I feel comfortable recommending a DPS agent because Ye Xiongguang is very strong. Since 1.4, when Miyabi was released, we had a period of extreme Miyabi shield up till 2.0, and then they started to anti-Miyabi from 2.0 to 2.5, and we had a period of extreme Yixuan shield. The history has told us that these Void Hunter characters or Void Hunter level characters get extended shield periods. Pulling Ye Xiongguang now is probably going to give you an extremely easy ride for the foreseeable future. It basically just means that one of your DAs is done, one of your shield defenses is done with very low investment teams. There will come a time where she gets antied pretty hard, like Yixuan is probably about to get antied pretty hard right now. For the first time in a while, I'm comfortable putting a character into tier 0 and saying, yeah, if you have the pulls, you should probably send them on Ye Xiongguang. This is gonna get spicy. Astra is such a good generalist support agent that she's kind of put herself into a position where she's not amazing at anything anymore. The best team that only she can support is going to be Astra Evelynn. I can't in good conscience. I know that Astra is rerunning and I cannot put her in tier 0. I cannot say that you should make that pull. I can say if you want to make that pull because you want a good generalist support, then you should do so. But I actually do think now's the right time for Astra to fall down to tier 1, making her sound like Caesar. Oh, bro. I mean, do we even need to? Like, Caesar is low pull value. Look, we just got Zhao for free. Yeah, she's gonna end up in low pull value. There's no real way around it. I think Caesar can offer things that not many other characters can in terms of survivability. So if that's something that you want because you're mainly just a story player and you just want to survive, then yeah, sure, you can pull Caesar. Let's talk about Orphe. Orphe provides a pretty solid buff on top of the fact that she's also an off-field DPS, which means that she's really simple and straightforward to use. She doesn't work amazingly well in teams outside of Oval Squad, so Seed and Sambi, but she does work really, really well in those teams. So she's kind of niche, but also kind of not a bad pick everywhere. If you just wanted like an extra character just to throw in somewhere, you're never really going to be losing out with Orphe. Her really good teams are so niche that I can't put her any higher than okay. Evelynn. I've wanted to put Evelynn in this tier for a while, but I really just don't think it's true. I think the last couple of tier lists I've done, she's ended up in tier 3, and honestly, I think that's the right spot for her. She's still okay, but you kind of have to run the team around her. She's going to be better than a DPS that's probably going to end up in the low tier for sure, but she still needs some level of investments. I feel like a lot of characters are going to end up in okay. It's making me kind of think that Miyabi might have to go up so we can have a little bit of differentiation between these two. I feel more comfortable with that now that I'm looking at it. Hugo and Ellen Enjoyers can play into Element Week. Also true. Ellen and Hugo Enjoyers are getting antied because of the way that Miyabi's being antied. Right now, Ellen is a low value pull, as is Hugo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, men enjoyers. I'm sorry, husbando enjoyers. I'm sorry, shark maid enjoyers. I can't in all good conscience sit here and say that you could pull these characters and have a really fun time. Let's do Seed. Typically, I always put Seed higher than Sambi because Seed is a really good attack character who doesn't necessarily need that many other pieces in order to make a team work. On a pull value list, that means that she's incredibly pullable, right? If you want to get a team up and running and get a team, you know, like clearing Deadly Assault and clearing Shiyu defense, Seed's a great pickup. Seed goes into the good tier. I have been putting Sambi in the okay tier for the last couple of patches, but now, Sambi not only had one buff, but this is now 2.5 and she's had her second buff. I don't think that she belongs in okay anymore. I don't think that she's just okay. I played her on a couple of people's accounts at M0, and honestly, I was really impressed. Sambi's just getting better. T2. Ban Yue! His damage output isn't crazy good, but he does okay. He is a Rupture DPS. He does good damage. You need to learn how to play him. He's okay. He's fine. Yeah, if he was like a hot girl, people would pull for him like crazy. I'm actually going to do the other Rupture DPS that released the patch prior, because I see Ban Yue as Idari, and Idari is kind of a pair. They do similar damage output. They've both been designed to fight Wandering Hunter. They're both very solid. I don't think that either of them belong above okay. I think they're both fine. Let's do Yuzuha, mostly because I think it's easy. Yuzuha is an incredible support for anomaly teams, but she can also flex into attack teams pretty effectively. She does provide a defensive assist for those teams as well. Mostly what she's designed to do is to work with anomalies, providing a big buff to disorder damage, as well as obviously the same attack buff that Astra provides. I think that she belongs in T0, and it's not even close. Alice. Great physical anomaly DPS. Has an easier time. It's not even close. Alice provides. I think that she belongs in T0, and it's not even close. Alice. Great physical anomaly DPS. Has an easier time into the most regular anomaly boss that we have, i.e. Fiend. Also has a very easy time into Jester as well in Shiyu defense. In current meta, Alice is having a much easier time than Miyabi. In terms of pull value, like, I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna put her in the same tier as Miyabi. I think that she's good. I think that she is a good character. I think that she does well. I think that she performs well. I think that a lot of the anomaly meta style stuff is kind of designed around Alice. And I think that she belongs in the same tier as Miyabi. Jufufu! I think because of Dylan being so good and us realizing now that it's not just recency bias, it's not just DA buffs that make Dylan seem good. Dylan is actually just that cracked. What I really like about Jufufu is that she really doesn't require much vertical investment at all. Her engine, not necessary. It does make building her a lot easier, but you can almost get everything you need to out of her kit with a very good build anyway. Trigger, on the other hand, she gets the additional Death Shred from the engine. Absolutely amazing, by the way, if you do want to vertically invest. A, that Death Shred doesn't work with Rupture teams, and B, she's also, without it, she feels a bit worse than Jufufu. But it's not much. I really don't think there's much in it. I would happily put both of them in the same tier, but there's a part of me that kind of wants to recognize that Jufufu is more FTP friendly, so we're gonna put her up there. Right, Lucia. We continue to get more Rupture agents, and I think that Lucia continues to be the best in slot support for Rupture. I don't think that's changing anytime soon, much like I don't think Yuzuha is changing as the best in slot for Anomaly anytime soon. I think that Lucia does do a really good job in Rupture, and I don't really see her going anywhere anytime soon. Haramasa! Look, I have to imagine that someone is watching this in 2.6 before I get around to making another one of these, and Haramasa has just been announced as rerunning, and if that's the case, I'm sorry, I cannot recommend pulling Haramasa. I don't think that anyone should be pulling for Haramasa. His pull value is low. Okay, Jane. Jane is probably not worth pulling, as well as the fact that she's in the shop, and that means that technically you can buy her, and you could choose her from the selector if you did the spending event. I don't think it would be worthwhile spending that money for Jane. I think you'd feel a little bit shortchanged. I'd also think as well that, and I say this regularly when I talk about Jane, Jane is great. She is very fun to play. She's very easy to play as well. But in terms of damage output, Piper is really not that different. You could run Piper, Vivian, Yuzuha into Fiend, and you can get 20k. You can run Jane, Vivian, Yuzuha into Fiend, and you can get 23k. You'll be fine either way. Most people will have to sweat for it a little bit more with Piper. Let's just say that actually. Let's do Juyuan. Honestly, I'm just wistfully remembering the time when Juyuan was good. Because if Juyuan was rerunning now, I'd have to say you probably shouldn't pull for Juyuan. It's sad. I'm pulling Juyuan anyways. Good. Based. Very based of you. Okie dokie. Let's do Vivian. Vivian is pretty neat. She helps to apply anomaly, and then therefore she's going to help you to cause disorders. She is really good at what she does. I can't really decide whether or not that means that she, considering that she's the best off-field anomaly applier, that she should go higher up the list, or considering the way that anomaly has been antied so much that she goes lower down the list. The reality is that you're still going to want at least a decent anomaly team, and she is the best option. She's probably just lower value than picking up some of the other options. I was kind of toying between putting her in T1 or T2, and I think she's going to end up in T. She's fantastic. I feel better about Yanagi now. I feel like I know what to do with Yanagi now. Last time, I put Yanagi into the okay tier, and I think that's where she goes. I was toying with the idea of putting her down to low, but the more I think about it, the more I think about the amount of options that she has and the amount of teams that she can run in, I think she does belong in okay. We've made this joke before, but Yanagi is PlayStation. She only does everything. She can be an on-field anomaly driver, as in she can be the on-field anomaly damage dealer, and she can work with a Vivian. She can be a quick swap anomaly agent and work with an on-field hungry DPS like Jane or Alice and kind of share the field time. And then she can kind of just do the off-field role and just come on and do her EXs just to get the disorder stacks up for Miyabi. She's really good. She's really solid at doing all of those things, but her damage output, it doesn't feel as good as it once did. Yanagi is okay. In terms of Qingyi was in low value last time. I don't think anything has changed. I think Qingyi continues to be a low value pull. Ye Xinguang coming out really doesn't help her at all because, you know, Ye Xinguang is a fantastic attack agent. The amount of stun multiplier that she can have is capped. So Qingyi kind of really works best with the older style DPSs that want to do lots of damage in the windows. And that kind of means that she's down here in the low ranking section. Bernice got buffed. I tried new Bernice. We cleared with new Bernice. I can't bring myself to put her in T3. I think she's still T4. I think Bernice is still a low value pull. I'm sorry. So you're saying Bernice needs more buffs? I feel like she's more usable now. It's not a recommended pull. I feel like I can't say, oh yeah, if you want to pull Bernice, that's fine. Like she's solid. She'll be okay on your, you know, like I would rather that they take Yanagi. I would rather that they take Vivian. And then we have Zhao. Zhao was given out for free. Zhao's engine is really good for Ye Xinguang. Even her mindscapes aren't that great. Don't pull Zhao. I think that's the whole video. Anyway, thanks for
Итак, в Иране массовые протесты. Власти отключили интернет и пытаются подавить акции, в том числе путем убийств протестующих. Протестующие объявляют о формировании отдельных вооруженных отрядов, сжигают административные здания и тоже не церемонятся с защитниками режима. Неформальным лидером протеста при этом является Реза Пехлеви, сын того самого шаха, которого свергли в ходе исламской революции. Раньше этот человек считался политическим аутсайдером. Всю свою взрослую жизнь он прожил в Америке и никогда нигде не работал. В современном мире не очень хорошо относится к идее монархии, а еще Реза Пехлеви очень позитивно относится к Израилю, и это тоже не добавляет ему политических очков в мусульманской стране. Его отец, кстати, был одним из немногих лидеров мусульманского мира, который в палестино-израильском конфликте явно симпатизировал евреям.
Но наши палестинские друзья должны знать, тому, насколько они могут запугивать весь мир, существует предел. Запугивать весь мир? Да, запугивать весь мир. Терроризмом, шантажом, чем угодно.
Теперь протестующие поднимают знамена шахского Ирана, того самого, который был до революции 1979 года. Дональд Трамп угрожает вмешаться в ситуацию в случае, если власти Ирана решат жестоко подавить протесты своих граждан. После этого власти Ирана продолжили жестоко подавлять протесты своих граждан. Трамп пока не вмешался. Что все это значит и чем может закончиться? Давайте разбираться. Ну а перед тем, как начать, напомню, что если у вас тормозит YouTube или любой другой заблокированный сервис, то в описании есть ссылка на VPN-сервис Liberty. Я, к слову, VPN-сервис Liberty лично проверял в Иране. Там он работает и прекрасно предоставляет доступ к свободному интернету, если только интернет полностью не положит власти страны. Начать нужно с общего введения в контекст. Что вообще происходит в Иране и что у них за система такая. Я, кстати, был в Иране сразу после 12-дневной войны с Израилем. Пообщался со многими местными жителями и снял во всем этом видеоролик. Можете посмотреть, если не видели. Иранская политическая и экономическая система – это детище революции 1979 года. Про исламскую революцию у меня, кстати, тоже полноценный отдельный документальный фильм на канале, можете тоже посмотреть. Иранские государственные строители пытались скрестить три вещи – ислам, социализм и рыночную экономику. Рыночную экономику добавили не сразу, а только тогда, когда стало понятно, что что-то идет не по плану. В стране есть ограниченная демократия, люди реально выбирают парламент и президента. Там есть политическая конкуренция и два видных движения – реформисты и консерваторы. Но большая часть власти находится в руках верховного лидера. Сейчас это Хаминеи. Верховный лидер как бы тоже избирается, но по очень витиеватой схеме и пожизненно. Когда на иранских улицах кричат «смерть диктатору», скорее всего, они имеют в виду именно Хаминеи, а не, например, президента страны Пезешкиана. Пезешкиан, кстати, реформист. Он поддерживал расширение прав для национальных меньшинств, критиковал обязанность ношения хиджаба женщинами, а во время протестов 2022 года критиковал жесткие методы их подавления и даже требовал провести прозрачное расследование смерти Махсы Амини, девушка, подозрительная смерть которой и вызвала эти протесты. Во время предвыборной кампании Пезешкиан даже обещал бороться с интернет-цензурой, но как-то не очень получилось выполнить свои обещания. Хотя, справедливости ради, после победы Пезешкиана в стране разблокировали WhatsApp и Google Play, так что какие-то успехи по борьбе с цензурой были. Для понимания контекста важно еще кое-что уяснить. Иран – это не бедная страна по меркам своего региона. В ней довольно образованное и довольно взрослое население. Вообще у исследователей есть гипотеза, что насильственные революции свойственны молодым обществам. В момент исламской революции в Иране медианный возраст людей был около 18 лет. Сейчас он около 35. Рождаемость вполне европейская, 1,5 ребенка на женщину. Женщины – полноценные участники экономических отношений, но урезаны в правах. Конечно, и близко не как в соседнем Афганистане, где женщин лишили права на образование и считают чуть ли не вещью, но и до наших представлений о равенстве Ирану очень далеко. В стране неплохая система здравоохранения, продолжительность жизни на уровне соседней богатой Турции. Государство оказывает масштабную социальную поддержку разным слоям населения. Вообще, поддержка неимущих в исламе занимает особую роль, но в Иране это поставлено на государственный уровень. Иранское правительство тратит деньги на то, чтобы товары и услуги стоили меньше. Например, продают электроэнергию и бензин себе в убыток. При этом властям трудно изменить такую систему. Например, последний раз, когда власти сильно подняли цену на бензин, общество ответило протестами. При том, что цена поднималась с очень низкой и нерыночной до просто низкой и нерыночной. Востоковед Никита Смагин в тот момент был в Иране и неплохо описал этот момент в своей книге.
Ты посмотри, как они это сделали. В пятницу утром, единственный выходной, объявляют, что цены выросли в 3 раза. Пытаются привлечь меньше внимания, но у них ничего не выйдет. Люди этого не потерпят, рассуждает Шахин. Послушай, ты же жил за границей, говорю я Шахину. Ты же знаешь, сколько должен стоить бензин. Даже нынешние 3000 туманов – это ерунда. Бензин не может стоить так дешево. Да и к тому же власти 4 года цены на него не поднимали. Да, но для рядовых иранцев это совсем не дешево. Им нужно кормить семьи, инфляция и так рекорды бьет из-за санкций. А тут твое собственное правительство поднимает цену сразу в 3 раза. Они сами загоняют себя в эту ловушку, вмешивается Хасров. Каждый раз президент приходит к власти и говорит, что цены на базовые товары останутся прежними. Они боятся их поднимать, потому что знают, как народ отреагирует. Тянут, ждут подходящего момента, а потом оказывается, что тянуть некуда.
Наверное, кто-то сейчас меня смотрит и думает, а что ж иранцы против такого гуманного диктаторского режима восстают? И тут нужно говорить о нюансах. Вся эта система государственной поддержки неплохо работает для того, чтобы люди имели какой-то необходимый минимум, но с остальным она попросту не справляется. Да, электроэнергия в Иране очень дешевая, но она постоянно отключается. Да, водоснабжение в Иране тоже недорогое, но в прошлом году в Иране на фоне засухи случился кризис, и многие иранцы оказались без воды. А ведь их даже не пришли защищать от укронацистов, как жители Донецка. Просто неэффективное управление привело к этому. И население почему-то думает, что если в кране нет воды, то виноваты нет, не они, а иранское правительство. Но, пожалуй, самое показательное – это ситуация с местной валютой. Инфляция в стране в последние несколько лет не опускается ниже 30%. Наличных для местных жителей практически не существует. За $1 дают 1,5 миллиона иранских реалов. Чтобы вы понимали, $100 — это огромная вот такая вот стопка денег шириной в несколько томов полного собрания сочинений Ленина. Пользоваться такими деньгами неудобно, поэтому иранцы предпочитают банковские карты. А сейчас прервемся на небольшую рекламную интеграцию. Вся эта ситуация с гиперинфляцией особенно сильно вредит торговле. Если у вас постоянная и очень стремительная инфляция, то вам становится попросту неудобно планировать бизнес. Вы очень зависите от курса, и вся эта нестабильность может легко вас разорить. Поэтому после очередного всплеска инфляции 28 декабря 2025 года на протест вышел иранский базар. Попросту говоря, торговцы. В Иране базар – это один из важных экономических и социальных центров. В 1979 году базар поддержал исламскую революцию, и это было очень важно для свержения шаха. Теперь же торговцы начинают объявлять забастовки, требуют навести порядок в экономических делах и стабилизировать курс валют. И тут же надо сказать, что последние десятилетия истории Ирана – это история непрерывных протестов. Большую часть из них власти подавили в крови, но кое-где пошли на локальные или даже довольно серьезные уступки. Причем эти два подхода не противоречат друг другу. Например, в 2022 году протесты вспыхнули из-за гибели в полицейском участке Махсы Амини. Девушку задержали за неподобающую одежду, плохой хиджаб и джинсы. Под плохим хиджабом, если что, понимается тот факт, что он плохо надет. Ну, в смысле, он недостаточно закрывает волосы девушки. В полицейском участке она и погибла. Справедливости ради скажу, что у нас есть видео инцидента, и понятно, что в момент гибели Махсу никто не бил. Ей внезапно стало плохо. Но другие задержанные говорят, что ее били в автозаке, по пути в отделение. И это и стало причиной, по которой ей стало плохо. В любом случае, произошедшее вызвало волну общественного негодования. Опять же, мы имеем дело со зрелым, не очень бедным и довольно образованным обществом. Женщины тут учатся в университетах, работают на работах, но почему-то не могут выйти из дома без хиджаба на голове. Это вызывало раздражение. Правило про хиджаб казалось глупым и несправедливым. В Тегеране значительная часть молодых девушек попросту игнорировали обязательное ношение хиджаба. И власти довольно долгое время смотрели на это сквозь пальцы. А тут внезапно задержание и гибель девушки. После этого девушки начали сжигать свои хиджабы, выходить на акции протеста против Исламской Республики. Многие мужчины их поддержали. Протесты подавили в крови. Самых активных протестующих в качестве наказания приговаривали к смертной казни. К слову, в основном к смертной казни приговаривали тех, кто или убил полицейского или ополченца Басидж, или серьезно ранил полицейского или ополченца Басидж. Это важно нам сейчас для зрелой оценки сегодняшней ситуации. Насилие всегда сопровождало протесты в Иране. Протестующие уже довольно давно не стесняются прибегать в том числе к летальной силе, хотя преимущественно протесты все-таки носили мирный характер. Так вот, казалось бы, протесты 22 года подавили в крови. Теперь нужно заставить всех носить хиджабы, чтобы навести порядок. Но нет. Власти наоборот делают послабления и фактически перестают наказывать женщин за отсутствие хиджаба. Когда я был в Тегеране в июле прошлого года, большинство девушек хиджаб не носили. И на этом же примере видно, как протесты в Иране могут начаться по любому поводу. Но когда они станут массовыми, там обязательно появятся лозунги свержения власти Хаминеи. Так вышло и в 2025 году. Казалось бы, собрались по понятному поводу. Мы торговцы, но ваше безграмотное управление нам мешает. Наведите порядок в мире.
Looks like I did everything that I wanted to do. Maybe I can level up Durin. Talent little more. I want to level his talent up to max. Worst. Probably not.
My parents always say, no matter how busy life
гитарной
gets,
политики.
you
Но
should
протест
always
тут.
sit down and enjoy a proper meal when you get.
I guess that's going to be it for the stream. Good luck, fun, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.